That's right. We are live here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, Dayton's radio home for Cincinnati Reds baseball. Reds off tonight, as is the rest of Major League Baseball, but then the second half of the season officially gets underway tomorrow night. Of course, we'll have game one between the Reds and the Mets right here, 1410 ESPN Radio at the 7:10 first pitch. Reds looking to, avoid doing something that they have done 3 of the last 4 years. They have been swept 3 times coming out of the All-Star break in 3 of the last 4 years. Looking to put an end, hopefully, to that streak coming up tomorrow. Again, a big stretch of games. The Major League Baseball trade deadline coming up on July 31st, and they have a lot to prove between now and then. They have a lot to work to do in regards to remaining in the playoff race. 6.5 games out of the NL Central, 2.5 games out of the wild card. And, of course, the Mets, the team sitting at the top of the National League wild card as we currently sit here right now. But, again, the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Tomorrow, we will be live at Frickers in Vandalia at 3 o'clock. Looking forward to that. Now, when I say we, I mean we. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
Why is the door open in the studio?
Well,
why were you a little fidgety to start the show today?
I heard you had a new co-host.
I tell you what. I ended that show very quickly that day. I didn't even ask permission. I just went to ESPN programming. I broke a lot of on-air rules that day. I did not swear. Came very close.
Good job.
But nonetheless, that's kind of where we're at this point.
Yeah, let's be clear about a couple things around here. I got a promotion, so I'm not on the show as much as I would love to be. I'm definitely making plans to make sure I'm available on Mondays and Wednesdays during the football season for sure, because I got to have my fun and talk some football with you. But if that creature shows its face, its beady little eyes, get the dump button ready, get the stream ready, because it's going to be a scream fest. It's going to be some cussing of words. It's going to be me running out of the studio. I don't do rodents. I don't do Mises. I don't.
Do you want me to point out where it came from?
Because I already got my head on the swivel. I haven't been in this studio since those back-to-back days that happened. I haven't been in here.
I toughed it out. I've done a few interviews in here. Done every show since then. I know that high-pitched squeal was not the mouse that day that was making that noise, I tell you what. But again, the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Kev Nash hanging out with us today. Roger on YouTube. Roger says, what up, though?
What up, though?
So I don't know how long we have you today, but we'll open up a little college football. It's the middle of July, middle of the summer. You know what time of year it is?
Yeah, list
season. And it's been a week of lists. And your boy Kinner over here has been on a roll.
Okay.
It's felt like football season this week. Angry Bengals. To be fair, the Bengals fans that have called in this week have been very friendly. One guy even he complimented me and said thank you for the job I do on the show. So I appreciated that. I'm clearly not. I'm struggling a little bit. I'm not pushing the buttons like I used to. I got to work a little harder. But on 3. College covers all college football, college basketball, that fun stuff. But they put out their top 10 college football coaches facing the most pressure this year, okay? So we'll get to that in a moment, and then I think their list is way wrong, and I'll give you my list coming up here shortly. But a couple of the lists that we highlighted this week that I'll bring you in on since we have you here. We'll start with the edge rusher list. Mm-hmm. With Trey Hendrickson still holding out, sitting out, threatening to possibly miss games, maybe 17 games, maybe the whole season. He comes in at he came in just outside of the top 5 on that top 10 list of edge rushers. How do you view Trey Hendrickson in a division that has the 2 best pass rushers in college football, in the NFL, and Myles Garrett, and of course your guy TJ Watt for the time being, maybe, who knows? Where does he stack up, Trey Hendrickson, amongst edge rushers in the NFL, in your opinion?
I would imagine about that 4, 5, 6 range. I mean, obviously we're going to go with Micah Parsons. We're going to go with TJ Watt. We're going to go with Myles Garrett. And then you start talking about Trey Hendrickson. I think those are clearly the top 3 edge rushers in the league, unless I'm forgetting somebody.
Where are you with Max Crosby?
Very good.
Because he's 27 years old. I think his age had a lot to do with that. So the list now, ESPN puts this list together, and it's not ESPN's like Jeremy Fowler or anybody. It's these lists are put together by NFL coaches, front office personnel, and scouts. So number 1 on that list was Myles Garrett. Number 2 was TJ Watt. Number 3, why am I drawing a blank on number 3? Who would it be number 3? Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons. Number 4 ended up being Max Crosby. Number 5 was Nick Bosa. And then number 6 was Trey Hendrickson coming in.
I would have if we're just talking about those guys that they have on those lists, I would have Trey Hendrickson above Bosa. Bosa has a trouble staying on the field.
Yep.
A lot of injuries over the last, not last couple of years, but definitely last year. He was banged up early in his career as well. So I would have Hendrickson over Bosa.
So, and I said this too, that when I watch the Cincinnati Bengals and I watch their defense and when he's out there, I mean, look, 17 and a half sacks. He led the NFL in that category last year. He was the NFL sack leader, of course.
Single-handedly beat the Steelers in the last game of the season.
But the problem is the majority of his sacks in the season came in that game. In fact, there was 2 games where I think he got like 6 sacks. 6 of his 17 and a half came in 2 games. That was the not knock, but that's what's kind of used against him in that conversation. But I feel like when I watch your Steelers, I watch Watt go out there and single-handedly, physically manhandle teams. Garrett makes huge impacts when he's out on there. When I watch Hendrickson, and I've seen it from Bosa when he is out there, of course. Crosby's the one I kind of circled and put a question mark next to. Hendrickson, I just never feel is like that big of an impact guy like those others. Now, the others can impact a play without actually having to touch the quarterback or be the initial tackler. I mean, a lot of plays are designed to go away from those guys. A lot of plays run towards Trey Hendrickson because he is one of the worst run defenders in the entire National Football League. I mean, it's horrendous how bad he is when it comes to stopping the run. So that's where I think there's still a lot of deficiencies towards, even though he's still a guy that, look, I said this when I was doing the solo that day, Myles Garrett gets hurt and somehow the Browns end up with Trey Hendrickson. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. That's totally fine. When I watch Trey Hendrickson, I don't feel like I'm feeling his presence watching him on TV the way I do some of those other guys.
I feel the opposite because the only time the Bengals defense makes a stop is because of him. He's the one making the play. I can't think of anybody else on that Bengals defense that stopped the nosebleed last year besides him. So when they actually do get a stop on third down, 9 times out of 10 it's because of him. So like when they do make a play on defense, I 9 times out of 10 is probably Trey making those plays. So having him, 4, 5, 6, I don't really think it makes a difference. I think it's all justified. Like, all right, man, we agree that he's a top 10 pass rusher in this league. Makes big plays, led the league in sacks. I just think that you're right. I think the age thing does play a role in it. I know it's playing that thing with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the signing of TJ Watt. I know that for sure. TJ Watt will be 31, I want to say like in October, and that's like part of the hang up of them getting the deal done is his age. Let's not sit here and act like age isn't a factor when it comes to these teams signing, star players to long-term contracts, because age catches up to everybody outside of LeBron James.
Kev Nash, Justin Kidder with you here, 1410 ESPN Radio. The other list, well, I have you here too, the Steelers with TJ Watt. Where are you at with TJ Watt? Does this deal get done? I mean, on the scale of 1 to 10, what's the likelihood that a trade could take place with TJ Watt?
So I'll never say never, but I think highly unlikely. TJ Watt is currently in Pittsburgh. He's currently training with some of the guys that are on the team. All plans are for him to report and do the whole hold-in situation that he did last time he was trying to get a contract. He stated he wants to be with the Steelers. Steelers said they want to keep him with the team. So I would say I will put it, TJ Watt getting traded, I will put it on the low end as 15% chance of it happening. I can't say no, can't say zero, but you got to put something on it, because especially the way the Steelers have been operating this offseason with them trading, Minkah Fitzpatrick and stuff like that, and, making a big deal to get DK Metcalf and obviously bringing in one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, even though he's old as all heck. They've been operating a tad bit differently. So you can't sit here and say, oh, no, they would never do that. Well, they've done a lot of things that have been different over the last couple months. So I won't say zero, but I'll definitely put it on the low end around 15%. Like
last time too, because they hit all the way up to the start of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And TJ Watt knows that that's how they operate. So he could play the long game too, and then maybe go 1-2 weeks into the season to play Chris Jones hardball a little bit.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think everybody knows they need to get the contract done, especially the Steelers. And the part that frustrates me when you're talking about the Steelers and TJ Watt situation, signing him frees up more money. The fact that you're going to pay him big money and you're going to free up more money not only for this year and next year, it just screams like you should already do this. And more importantly, you should do this before the Cowboys try to get anything done with Michael Parsons, because you don't want to be last. I say this 1,000,000,001 times. Don't be last to pay the guy that's next up for a contract, because you're going to ultimately end up paying more. Because like you look at that cluster of guys, we talked about Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and Michael Parsons. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that like, okay, those are the top 3 guys. So it's not a situation where like we're talking about a fringe top 10 or top 15 guy getting a big payday. We're talking about everybody hands down believes that this guy is a top 5, top 4 defensive end rush guy in the league. Just get the deal done, get him into camp. And another thing about it, like with the Pittsburgh Steelers was Coach Tomlin, like the veterans don't, I won't say do a lot, but like they're not out there like the rookies. Like there wasn't a big deal about Aaron Rodgers not being at mini camp, because they wanted the younger guys to get a lot of reps. Like that's the purpose. They want to save the veterans. And I mean, shoot, at this stage of his career, and it seems like everybody else's career on the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're all veterans. They're all a little bit older. So you don't want to burn them guys out in July and August. You need them for September, October, November, December, January, hopefully February.
Yeah, so do we got you another
Yes,
segment? All right, we'll step away for a few. We'll pick up with this coming up here around the corner
I'm here
again.
long as it's
I was going to say, yeah. If we come back and Kev Nash isn't here with us, we know that the other co-host decided to come and hang out for a bit. So, all right, we'll step away for a few. When we come back up, we'll pick up with this, of course, because I want Kev's thoughts on the QB rankings and the wide receiver rankings that came out this week. Plus, on 3, top 10 college football coaches facing the most pressure. I disagree with On 3's list. Big time, Ari Wasserman put that list together. I'll give you my top 5 head coaches in college football facing the most pressure heading into the upcoming season, which is not too far off in the distance. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash here on a Thursday. We'll be right back.
Let's get it, baby.
Craig, go fuck yourself, dude.
What do you say now?
Okay, there's no need to send Oh, let's get off camera before, we're off the mic. That's all that matters. right, and we are back. Justin Kinner along with Kev Nash here today on a Thursday. Tomorrow we're going to be in Vandalia, Fricker's location over in Vandalia. Kev's going to be with me as well. So, 2 straight days.
Hey, look at that.
2 straight days of the Kinner and Kev show. How about that? But by the way, what does we see at the halfway point of July? What is today? The 17th.
17th.
Wow, that's wild. So a week from next Tuesday, so when we get to next Tuesday, the 22nd, we'll officially be 1 month away from our very first high school football game right here. We kick off the season I think this is year 10 for Keith Byers and I.
Really?
Keith Byers has been around a minute with us. Yeah. The first year we did high school football.
My bell.
Go look over here. Go move some stuff around. The first year that Keith Byers and I did high school football was 2014. Our very first game we ever called was Alter Fairmont, and that's the game we do pretty much every year. I think COVID's the only thing that kept us from calling Alter Fairmont to open up, and I think it was because everyone I think GWalk just played GWalk and so on and so on. But yeah, we'll have Alter and Fairmont in week 1, Trotwood at Fairmont week 2, Springfield at Trotwood in week 3, Springfield at Miamisburg. I wonder why we don't go to Springfield. Springfield at Miamisburg in week 4, Wayne at Fairmont week 5, Northmont and Wayne. Springboro at Beaver Creek. That's a big one for you and hot too.
Yes, sir.
So there's that. Looking forward to that high school football coming up around the corner, and we'll have that right here on 1410 ESPN Radio every Friday, every regular season game or game of the week. That schedule will be posted at wingam.com for you to go and check out and follow along as far as that's concerned. It's list season, as we talked about. Look, we talked about the edge rusher list. I wanted Kev's thoughts. He's a Steeler fan. TJ Watt coming in at number 2. TJ Watt currently holding out, as is the Bengals star pass rusher, who's also holding out. Both want the same thing. Both are the same age, and both are running into the same problem. 30's not old, but it's how old you're going to be on the back end, and usually that position starts to wear down a year or two into what would be both their contracts around this time. So that is something to keep an eye out for. Man, can you imagine if the Browns didn't get Myles Garrett's situation figured out? 3 of the top pass rushers in the NFL, the top 3 pass rushers in the obviously the AFC North, all would have been holding out, all demanding more money. Trey Hendrickson's asked for a trade at times. Myles Garrett was asking for a trade. TJ Watt technically hasn't said anything other than he wants his damn money. Another list that came out this week, the top quarterback lists. No surprise. Look, it's the quarterbacks at the top that you'd expect to be there. And then there's Jaden Daniels, which I'll ask you about in a moment. Patrick Mahomes coming in at number 1. Josh Allen coming in at 2. Joe Burrow 3. Lamar Jackson 4. Jaden Daniels 5. According to NFL coaches, front office personnel, and executives and the scouts. Your thoughts on that ranking?
Wow, top 5 already.
That was, NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
I didn't think it could get better than what we saw from CJ Stroud, go Bucks, 2 years ago. And then CJ Stroud had at that time the best rookie season ever statistically. You had a last place Texans team that he took over. They won the division. They go to the playoffs. They won a playoff game. But yeah, that back-to-back years where you've had a quarterback put on the best rookie season ever. What do you think about Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, I definitely think Jaden Daniels is very good at football, very good quarterback. But CJ Stroud is definitely up there. But how about the MVP of the Super Bowl? That he doesn't get top 5 love? Jalen Hurts. He did win the Super Bowl. And we always love making football all about the quarterback. So let's make it all about the quarterback. He won the Super Bowl, and his team kicked the snot out of Jaden Daniels' team. So,
both. And technically, Jalen Hurts got the best of Joe Burrow last season, Jaden Daniels last season, and Patrick Mahomes in the biggest game of the season. You look at the 2 Super Bowls that Hurts has played against Patrick Mahomes' team. He has outplayed Patrick Mahomes in both of those games. So I said Joe Burrow's a top 5 quarterback. I would not have him at 2 or 3. I would have Patrick Mahomes 1. I'd have Lamar Jackson 2. I'd have Josh Allen winning that MVP. I think people make so much about the skill set. Joe Burrow is the most skilled quarterback in the NFL. Well, if that's the case, then Justin Herbert deserves to be in the top 5 from that perspective, as far as that goes. But I would have Patrick Mahomes 1, Lamar Jackson 2, Josh Allen at 3, and then I'd put Jalen Hurts at 4 with Joe Burrow at 5. When you look at the fact that Patrick Mahomes has all the MVPs, all the Super Bowls and Super Bowl MVPs, Lamar Jackson, multi-time MVP award winner, Josh Allen, who I think you take the pass away, he could beat you with his legs. You take the run away, he could beat you with his arm. MVP. I have him at number 3. He wins his division every year, gets to the playoffs every year. Josh Allen, I have to put at number 3. And then I put Jalen Hurts at 4 because same thing. All he does is make the playoffs. All he does is win football games. And he's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's outplayed Patrick Mahomes in both Super Bowls. And he's a Super Bowl champion / Super Bowl MVP. That's why I have him at 4. I think that your skill, along with your, of course, what you've achieved and accomplished. Joe Burrow's been to a Super Bowl. That's great. But all those guys have accomplished more, and they're all in the same winning stratosphere as him. That's why I have Joe Burrow at 5 behind those guys, but he's still a top 5 quarterback in the league.
Yeah. What do you think it is about the massives that don't put Hurts up there? Is it because he has a great roster around him? Because I put him, people like try to play him like he's Brock Purdy. Because the Niners have like this crazy roster, especially when they went to the Super Bowl and lost to Kansas City Chiefs. And you look at the Philadelphia Eagles roster, I mean, it is loaded. There's no doubt about it. It is loaded. And he's taking full advantage of the roster being loaded by getting to the Super Bowl and then also getting to the Super Bowl this past season and winning one. So, like, what is it about Hurts that makes people say, like, hey, yeah, he's good, but he's not all that?
I mean, look, it's the exact same thing with Brock Purdy. But here's the difference. We've seen Jalen Hurts be top 10 in passing yards in the NFL whenever they didn't have Saquon Barkley. And then you get Saquon Barkley. And the fact that this is what I've always loved about Jalen Hurts is he adapts to whatever's best to give his team a chance to win. Not many quarterbacks' egos can handle being benched for a true freshman quarterback at halftime of a national championship game, and that true freshman coming in to lead you to a win. Him not leave and enter the transfer portal, I guess that wasn't necessarily, I mean, the option to leave was there.
Mm-hmm.
Came back, busted his ass, great backup. And then when the team needed him a year later in the SEC championship game, came in and led him to that. His leadership qualities are all over the place. When they need him to be a big passing quarterback, he could do that. He could put up the big passing numbers. That's why A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith earned big contracts with the Eagles. And then when you get a Saquon Barkley and you got to do what's best for your team to give them the best chance to win, now he reverts back to, okay, I'm going to dink and dunk, hand it off, and we're going to let Saquon Barkley be the centerpiece of that offense. Some of the drama last year probably had a lot to do with the fact that some of the receivers weren't as active in the pass game as what they were used to the year before. But that's what makes to me Jalen Hurts so great, is that he is willing to adapt to whatever is best for the team to go out and win. It's not, hey, we have Saquon Barkley, but I'm making $50+ million a year. I'm the quarterback. I want to throw to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith the whole time, even at the expense of us being a Super Bowl team. I think that's what makes him so great as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to his high school profile, and then you go back to him going into Alabama and everything like that. I know it's been some years ago, but everything that Nick Saban said about him, you know, he just does all the right things behind the scenes with the teammates and stuff like that, and just being a leader. And, you know, we always take that he's a winner thing, and it kind of gets morphed into something that it's really not. I mean, I remember Tim Tebow was a winner and he's a leader and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, he Tim Tebow. Yes, he was all of those things. But guess what? Eventually, you do have to make plays, and that's what Jalen Hurts does. To the Joe Burrow effect, I wouldn't be mad at that. I'm not mad at that someone would have Joe Burrow at number 5, just quote unquote barely making the top 5, the last guy into the top 5. So who would you have 6, 7, 8 then?
6, 7, and 8. That's where I'm a Justin Herbert guy. But I can't put him at 6.
Okay.
I have no problem with Jaden Daniels being there at 6. Maybe a little premature. We saw with C.J. Stroud, a little premature putting him there. But no, at number 6, I would put Matthew Stafford at 6. I'd put Matthew Stafford at 6 because I think his skill is as good as those guys. He's a little older. And he's a little bit fragile. I'd put him at number 6. I have no problem putting Jaden Daniels at number 7. I would put Justin Herbert at 8. I got to be consistent because I'm also giving a lot of credence to the accomplishments on the field too. Herbert just hasn't had that. Now, Goff is an interesting one because he's been to multiple Super Bowls he's been to one
with the Rams in the NFC Championship 2 years ago with the Lions.
So I have him, at 9, and then 10, I have Baker Mayfield.
Really?
And so did the front office personnel and executives and the NFL coaches. Baker Mayfield cracking the top 10.
So no C.J. Stroud in your top 10.
He's been playoffs 2 years in a row. Let me say this. Jared Goff, the Browns need a quarterback, right? And these 2 quarterbacks are available, and I get to pick. They say, Kenner, you get to be the GM for the day. C.J. Stroud or Jared Goff, who are you picking? I'm picking C.J. Stroud over Jared Goff. As wild and crazy as that sounds, I'd still pick C.J. Stroud over Jared Goff. Would you?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Right. So the only rebuttal I would have to that is you got to get off this Justin Herbert thing, bro. You got to let it go, man. You got to let it go. Let that good thing go. I know he was your guy. I know you were waving that flag. You gotta let it go, man.
I only can't because that guy puts up numbers no matter who's out there to catch the football. Now, last year was a major kick in his man parts and my man parts and everyone that's a supporter of his man parts. My goodness. But he hasn't had he's never had he's had Keenan Allen and others, but they were never healthy consistently enough. There was a stretch last year and the year before where he had 3 walk-ons, not walk-ons, but
me and you
basically, practice squad guys that got called up to fill in for a lot of the injury. And then they took his pass catchers away last year to give all the money to the defense.
Yeah, one of them just retired today.
And Quentin Johnson, I saw that 30 years old, Mike Williams. The Quentin Johnson has been an all-out bust.
Yeah,
so,
Lad McConkey's balling though. Good old Lad.
That's probably the best, and he was the most consistent last year too. So no, Josh Allen's had Stephon Diggs. Patrick Mahomes has had his tight end / Tyreek Hill. Joe Burrow has 2 number 1 wide receivers. Let's just be clear. Jane Daniels has Terry McLaurin. We talked about Jalen Hurts. I need to see Justin Herbert with just something of a resemblance to some of the pass catchers that those guys have had. Also, he has the defense now. Joe Burrow doesn't have that defense. I think Joe Burrow would kill for that Chargers defense. We'll see. I do think this is my make or break here on Justin Herbert.
So I think you and I share the same thought process about a player. You really like Justin Herbert. I really like Jordan Love. I think I'm taking Jordan Love over Justin Herbert today, tomorrow, and probably in the future. I think the fact that what you're going to see from Justin Herbert isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing about how they're going to be running their offense. It's because they got Amari Hampton, if I'm not mistaken, out of North Carolina. They drafted him, and then they obviously, picked up Najee Harris in free agency. So that means they're going to be a heavy run play action team. So I don't think you're going to be seeing like these gaudy numbers. Not to say that's a bad thing. It's really all truly about winning. It's talk about sacrifice. We gave Jalen Hurts a ton of credit for sacrificing his personal numbers for the team goal. So that's not a knock on Justin Herbert. The knock on Justin Herbert comes from the overall winning, because are all these great stats you're putting up equaling winning? They haven't been able to equate to W's. So that's the back push I will put on that. And then also another guy that I keep waving the flag, I was dead wrong about, Bo Nix. I was wrong about Bo Nix coming into the NFL. I was blown away that he was a first-round pick. I was blown away how well he played last year. But Bo Nix is nipping at his heels. And another guy who's about 1 million years old, look out for Aaron Rodgers this season. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a great season, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
So you talk about the winning, right? The winning or whatever when it comes to Justin Herbert and all this stuff. Like Joe Burrow is another one that has, I think I saw Justin Herbert's won like 38, 39% of his games. Joe Burrow's won way more than that, but not way more. Joe Burrow's won just a hair over 50% of his games. The Cincinnati Bengals have missed the playoffs 3 of the 5 years that he's been there. They've missed the playoffs the last 2 years. He had an MVP, 49 freaking 100 yards last year, 45, whatever it was, crazy touchdown numbers. Jamar Chase goes off. They missed the playoffs. Now, not all his fault. I completely get that, but we know the quarterback gets all the praise and all the blame one way or another. Bo Nix is responsible for the playoffs, despite the fact that it's the defense and other stuff for Denver. Now, he did exactly what you needed him to do. But no, I think that quarterback list is fine. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL right now. It's actually probably the healthiest the quarterback. I think so.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I think so.
I don't know about that. I think there's a lot of names. I think there's a lot of names that we know. We know Tua. We know Dak.
Me and you are fans of teams that have been desperate for quarterbacks for a while.
We know Tua. We know Dak. We know Kyler Murray. We all know these names, but are those dudes really good? They're really good. I don't think they're really that good. I just don't. Just like I'm off of the Dak train, been off the Kyler Murray train. Like it's just like guys that we know because we are engulfed in this sport. And then also a lot of these guys, I mean, we saw their entire career. Shoot, I remember Kyler Murray coming out of high school. I remember like, oh man, he's this like short dual threat quarterback. He went to A&M and then transferred to Oklahoma. Like, so we've watched these guys literally as teenagers to grown adults in this league. So it's just names that we know. But like, are they actually good? I don't think Kyler Murray's good. I don't think Dak Prescott's good. I don't think Tua's good. I think they're names.
Ron Howard wants to know where's Deshaun Watson.
It's no longer about Deshaun. It's about Shador.
Hold on. Let's not disrespect Mr. Flacco, please.
It's
All
about
Let's Joe Flacco, QB1.
no. It's about
QB2.
Kenny Pickett, baby.
Now,
Super Bowl champion.
I keep hearing that too.
Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett.
I keep hearing
Super Bowl champion. Put some respect
they want
on
Kenny
that.
Pickett to be the Sam Darnold of 25.
My nephew is meeting Shador Sanders today. Shador is doing a little football camp around the corner from his elementary school, so he's pulling up there. I talked to him this morning. I was like, make sure you tell him Uncle Kev is a Steelers fan. You make sure you do.
What about
that.
Uncle Kenner? What about Go Browns?
It's like I can't do that.
Flacco, though,
I can't do that. I can't do that. I was like, well, guess what? I can't do. Remember all those cool sneakers you get for Christmas? Finito, kid. Finito. Pay less, buddy. That's where you'll be shopping.
The wide receiver list, I don't want to spend too much time on that. Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase? Who's the best receiver in football? So Jamar Chase in the same list, put together by the same coaches. But Jamar Chase came in at number 1, Justin Jefferson 2. And by the way, no one's losing sleep over that. I don't think it's that big a deal. I have my reasons for why I think Justin Jefferson should be number 1, but I'm curious who
I would go Justin Jefferson simply because I like a rangier receiver. I think that Justin Jefferson is kind of like the prototypical wide receiver look. Like if you look at Jamar Chase, I've met Jamar Chase before. Outside of the fact that we're the same height, we have nothing in common because his hands are like the size of freaking oven mitts and his forearms are huge. He's like totally jacked. He's built like a running back, but plays wide receiver. No knocking it. It works, obviously. But when I think wide receiver, Justin Jefferson is what I envision in my mind. A lanky, long, tall receiver, out jumping folks and everything like that. When I look at Jamar Chase, he's awesome. I look at him and I see like, hey, man, I could take a swing route and just truck somebody and take it the other distance. So both are great. Don't get it twisted. I definitely got them top 2, but my preference would be a Justin Jefferson.
Fine with either. I mean, like I said yesterday, if you have a draft and you want Jamar Chase and the team ahead of you drafts Jamar Chase and you're stuck with Justin Jefferson, you're doing just fine. You're doing just fine. This is where Bengals fans got onto me yesterday because I said I'll take Justin Jefferson, who I don't think is dependent on who's throwing him the football.
We're going to find out this year, ain't we?
We are. We are. But I when you look at StatMuse, got to love StatMuse.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you do a show solo now, thanks a lot. You have to rely on a lot of this stuff. But no, Jamar Chase's numbers without Joe Burrow throwing him the football in 7 games, 400 yards and 1 touchdown in 7 games without Joe Burrow. That's 58 yards a game, 1 touchdown in 7 games. That's not high quality stuff right there. And like, that's when you need playmakers like that to step up and go make big plays to help carry. Now you could bring up Browning. That's the backup quarterback. Not a lot of wide receivers do great with backup quarterbacks. The backup quarterback averaged 297 yards a game that year that he filled in for Joe Burrow. How of those 297 yards a game was Jamar Chase not getting in on some of that action as far as I'm concerned. So I said yesterday, I view that as him being very Joe Burrow dependent. We talked about the fact that they were so close at LSU and how that was one of the strengths of bringing Jamar Chase to Cincinnati. Sometimes maybe they're too close because Jamar Chase knows no other way of playing with another quarterback. To Justin Jefferson's credit, he's had to play with Dobbs. He's had to play with obviously Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold, who are very, very good quarterbacks, but they're not elite quarterbacks. And how much did Sam Darnold, how good did he look last year because of a Justin Jefferson and some of the others, and aging Kirk Cousins, who I'm a fan of. I'm not going to knock Kirk Cousins, but he's not Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or any of those guys. You look at guys like Tua, and I said that yesterday too, Tyreek Hill. I kept calling Tyreek Hill Tua. Tyreek Hill puts up numbers no matter who's throwing him the football. Now, last year we started to see some regression with him, but Tyreek Hill's always put up numbers regardless of who's throwing him the football. Tua he's throwing him the football weeks 1 through 8. It's always someone different in the back. Stephon Diggs was like that early on, where it didn't matter who was throwing him the football. He'd go get it. CeeDee Lamb, let's be clear, Dak Prescott can't stay healthy. He puts up big numbers with Dak, but I've seen Andy Dalton out there, what was Zappy or whatever his name is.
Billy.
No matter what, CeeDee Lamb's putting up big numbers. There's all these wide receivers out there that put up numbers no matter who's throwing them the football. 7, it's not a huge sample size, but it's not a small sample size. 7 games, though. Jamar Chase disappears when Joe Burrow's not throwing him the football. That's why I would pick Justin Jefferson over him at 1.
Like you said, 1, 1A, 1B. You can't go wrong with either. Who else is in the top 10?
I don't remember that list. No, I don't have that. Once it was all about my rage for the Bengals. I had to discredit the Bengals somehow, some way. But Jamar Chase 1, Justin Jefferson 2. They still had Tyreek. This one I disagree with. They still had Tyreek Hill at number 3.
Really?
They still had Tyreek Hill at number 3. Do I have you again?
Yes. We got to get into that list. I got
college football. My bad.
I want to get to the rest of that list and definitely do some college football for sure. Because Tyreek Hill, top 10 or top 3 still?
Top 3. Wild stuff. All right. We got college football coming up for you around the corner, and we got Reds in hour number 2. Major League Baseball's All-Star MVP wants to be a Cincinnati Red. We'll get to that later on in the program as well, but we'll pick up with this the list season. The list season continues. More Justin Kenner, Kev Nash when we come back.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
The Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. Kev Nash and I will be live at Frickers in Vandalia tomorrow at 3 o'clock. 3 to 5 we'll be live. Of course, we're looking forward to seeing you guys out there. We got some Reds tickets we'll be giving away. The Reds will return home for their first series post All-Star break on the 28th when they welcome the Dodgers to town. So we got Reds-Dodgers tickets. So if you want a chance to see the Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani and company in town,
Nice.
Great American Ballpark, come on out. We also got the LA De La Cruz bobbleheads in yesterday, the sliders, Tyler Stevenson's City Connect bobblehead. We have that as well. So we're going to be we got the koozies. Thank goodness. I said koozies. Yeah, the koozies. We got those that we'll be giving away. So we look forward to seeing everybody out there. And then we do have Frickers Bucks as well. On a first come, first serve, we'll be handing out enough for people to get some appetizers. Again,
Nice.
first come, first serve. Just keep that in mind as far as that goes. But we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow at Frickers in Vandalia. That's where Kev Nash and I will be. The list season continues. We're wrapping this up. The wide receiver list. That's what you wanted to kind of take a look more into as we kind of took a deep dive into that. Jamar Chase 1, Justin Jefferson came in at 2, Tyreek Hill at 3. I didn't understand that at all, but CeeDee Lamb coming in at 4. CeeDee Lamb's who I would have had at 3. What say you?
Absolutely. CeeDee Lamb at 3. I would have Tyreek Hill like 8, 9 range. Definitely AJ Brown. They got it 5, St. Brown at 6, Malik Neighbors coming off a great rookie season at 7, at 8, Nico Collins down there in Houston with CJ Stroud, a Buckeye throwing to a Michigan Wolverine. That's awesome. A Hall of Famer to be Mike Evans at number 9, and then at 10, Garrett Wilson. Also wouldn't have Garrett Wilson in my top 10 either. I wouldn't have Garrett Wilson up there. I would have Terry McLaurin up there. I have Puka Nacua maybe in that spot. DK, maybe even T. Higgins, but definitely wouldn't have Garrett Wilson in my top 10.
Garrett and McLaurin, what I love about those two, very similar to the take on Justin. It doesn't matter who's throwing them the football. Like Garrett Wilson just got that huge contract extension, and look at the, the carousel quarterbacks that he's had to play with. Aaron Rodgers isn't a bad quarterback to play with, but that chemistry wasn't there. There was a lot of drama last year.
Mm-hmm.
He found a way to still have a great season, and McLaurin was like that early. McLaurin deserves to play with Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
Assuming they get rid of that drama right now. I mean,
they're going to pay him.
Like, think of all the quarterbacks that he had to play with that was putting up monster numbers. He deserves to play with Jaden Daniels. So I'm hoping that they get that done.
Now, you asked me about TJ Watt and the chances of him getting traded. I said 15% because you have to put something behind it. I will go as low as 2% that Terry McLaurin is traded from the Commanders. They will get the deal done. The whole purpose of having a rookie quarterback on a rookie quarterback scale is to pay everybody around him. He's going to get his money as he deserves, and he's going to ball out like he always does.
All right, on 3, college football time.
It's my season.
On 3 put out their top 10 college football coaches facing the most pressure in 2025. Now, look, every coach is facing pressure. Ryan Day, his job is safe, but he's facing pressure. I don't know. We're really going to test. I don't want Ohio State to lose to Michigan. By God, I mean, close. But losing to Michigan a year after winning a national championship, extending that losing streak to 5, that'll really test the theory of just how much that game means. We've debated this for years. I've said, look, I don't dislike the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, but at the same time, win a national championship, you're good. Lose to Michigan, win a national championship, you're good. Don't win a national championship for 4 or 5 straight years, beating Michigan, getting knocked out of the playoffs. Like Ross Bjork, whether we like it, you like it, listeners like it or not, Ross Bjork has basically all but said, yes, we love the Michigan rivalry, but it's about championships. It's really what it all comes down to. Ryan Day, a year ago, I thought would have been on this list. He is not on this list. He wouldn't be on my list. I don't know if he would be on your list, but I want to go through just the top 5 on this on 3 top college football coach facing the most pressure. Number 1, and I disagree with this. I do believe this coach is facing pressure, but number 1 is, Sooners, Oklahoma, Brent Venables.
Boom, Sooner back.
Is Brent Venables, in your opinion, the head coach at Oklahoma, is he facing the most pressure in 2025?
The most pressure, I wouldn't say but I would definitely go in there and around like top 5 for sure. Up there. I mean, you look at some of the moves that they made in the portal. They got themselves a quarterback. I know a lot of people have not watched a lot of Washington State football. Even when the former number 1 overall pick, was there before he went to Miami. Look, all the things that Cam Ward did, they're getting the quarterback that can do exactly what Cam Ward did for the U last season in Oklahoma. Look for that Oklahoma offense to make a big jump this upcoming season. Defense is always strong. I know there's a particular player on that defense that's going to be making a lot of plays this upcoming season, and I'm looking for Oklahoma to make a big splash in the SEC. Not saying they're going to win the SEC championship, but the way that they were playing last year, like they offensively, they didn't stand a chance because of the injuries and the bad quarterback play. This year, they're going to have some great quarterback play, and guys are coming off injury. So I'm looking forward to Sooners to play some very good football. But yeah, he's definitely under some pressure. I mean, let's not get it twisted.
When I look at the top 5 coaches facing the most pressure, I look at it as you either do something this year or you're fired. I don't know. Is Brent Venables fired this year if he doesn't win a national championship? That's how I view, like, Ryan Day.
Whoa, win the national championship? No, I don't see that happening.
That's why I'm like, if you don't have that pressure on you, I don't think you have the most pressure of anyone on this list. Like, the guy I would have at number 1 on my list, I don't think this is a hot take. James Franklin, to me, is facing the most pressure of any coach.
Really?
Because he has national championship expectations. And this is probably the best roster he's had in quite some time. I mean, we had, Phil Steele on, and they're the favorites to win the Big Ten. They're the favorites to square off in the national championship game. That's why I have James Franklin at number 1. That's why I can't put Brent Venables there. Brent Venables could win 10, 11 games, win a playoff game, maybe 2, be knocked out, and he's just fine. I don't think that's pressure. I think that's just expectations at Oklahoma to begin with and a top SEC school. James Franklin's in very similar territory that Michigan was 2 years ago and Ohio State was last year. I compared James Franklin. James Franklin has the same makeup as the last 2 national champions in Ryan Day and Harbaugh. Harbaugh had a reputation for not being able to win the big games. His bowl record spoke for itself. He finally was just getting over the hump of being able to win some rivalry games, obviously with Ohio State. Last year, Ryan Day had the reputation of not being able to win big games. Not being, losing to Oregon multiple times, losing your non-conference matchups multiple times, going all the way back to the national title game against Alabama 5 years ago. Very similar to Harbaugh, had that reputation of not being able to win the big one, finally knocks it off. James Franklin's in the same boat that the last 2 head coaches were of national champions. I have James Franklin at number 1 on my list as far as facing the most pressure. If it's not Venables and you don't think it's James Franklin, who would you have at number 1?
I did want to touch on the James Franklin situation. Since I don't know a ton of Penn State fans, I don't know the temperature of their fan base. But everything that I get from the people that I do know that kind of follow Penn State is I don't think that they obviously care, but I don't think the pressure is there to win it all. I think the pressure is there is to win games, to win the games you're supposed to win and compete for a national championship. I don't think that the pressure is there to win. I think competing and being in the game is quote unquote good enough for Penn State fans. So I wouldn't have James Franklin in my top 5. For me, I look at coaches that will be fired if they don't win a minimum amount of games. So I would look at a coach like Norvell at Florida State. If they don't win 7 games this year, he's fired. Like, you're going to lose your job if you don't win 7 games. If you can't win 7 games, that's ridiculous. They've proven that they couldn't do that last year by only winning 2. If you can't win 7 games next year, you're fired, especially with all these extra rumors about Nick Saban coming back. You don't ever want to be in that position where if you don't meet expectation, there's a legend out there waiting to pounce on your potential job. So that's one. And then another one I will put out there, I wouldn't say he's under pressure or he's fired, but Lincoln Riley as well. Like, how long are we going to play this Lincoln Riley game out there at USC before you even make it to the Big Ten championship game? Are you going to make it to the Big Ten championship game, or are you just going to keep producing number 1 quarterbacks year after year? And like, hey, man, I can go there and learn how to be a quarterback in the NFL. Thanks for the memories and no championships. So I will put Lincoln Riley up there as well.
Yeah, so my top 5, and like the James Franklin thing, by the way, too, it was about if you can't win with argument. I mean, everyone we've spoke to says their quarterback, arguably outside of Arch Manning, is probably being viewed as the guy right now that could potentially be taken out of taking number 1 in next year's draft at quarterback, as far as that's concerned. So you can't win when you have that level of a quarterback, 2 NFL running backs, all the returnees you have on the defensive side of the ball. If Penn State, James Franklin can't win now with Ohio State, with Michigan kind of in that in the middle area right now as they await their punishment from the NCAA and still putting things together in year 2 with Sharon Williams. Wait, what? Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore. Sorry, with Sharon Moore. Ohio State debuting a new quarterback and replacing like the Big Ten is theirs for Lincoln Riley, and USC is not where they're supposed to be. Oregon lost a lot. If Penn State can't win this Big Ten, they'll never win the Big Ten as far as that's concerned. So that's why I have him so high. But my top 5, I had James Franklin 1, Lincoln Riley 2, Mike Norvell 3. I put Brian Kelly up at number 4.
Really? This is the year that LSU is supposed to win the national championship. It's been 4 or 5 years, 6 years since they won.
Well, for the sake of his family, I hope
it's time for them to go ahead and win a natty. Another one. I mean, I know we were planning to talk more about this tomorrow, and it's normally my segment, but we'll tease it right here for tomorrow's show out there at Frickers in Vandalia. I believe that it's championship or bust for a lot of teams out there in college football, and number 1 by far is Texas, championship or bust. Not saying that Sark would get fired or anything like that, but hey, y'all better bring home the natty or your season is a bust. Georgia, you better bring home the natty or your season is a bust. Like, not saying those guys are going to be fired, but like, all right, man, you didn't come to play. Like Florida State, if you don't win 8 games, your season is a bust. I don't know. Shoot, Nebraska, looking at your schedule, if you're not playing in the Big Ten championship game, your season is a bust because I believe they avoid Penn State and Ohio State this year. Nebraska does. So if you don't make it to the Big Ten championship game, your season is a bust. So it's a lot of teams out here that you have to do X, Y, and Z or your season is a bust. Not saying coaches are going to get fired or anything like that, but you have a minimum requirement in order for your season to be a success. And winning 8 games isn't a stretch. Making it to the Big Ten championship game when you don't play Ohio State or Penn State isn't a stretch.
So, yeah, as far as Nebraska is concerned, I mean, look, they open up against Cincinnati.
Win. At
Arrowhead for whatever reason. But Akron and
win.
Houston Christian.
A lot of wins there, buddy.
They do play Michigan.
Okay.
That's their first Big Ten game. They play Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, USC, UCLA. They do play at Penn State.
Okay, they do Penn State. So
1, 2 losses.
1. You should only lose to Penn State.
And yeah, I mean, that's kind of where they're sitting right now.
There should be a 3-way tie for the Big Ten championship. There should be Ohio State, Nebraska, and Penn State. It should be one of those teams, one of those matchups should be in the Big Ten championship game. Nebraska should be playing in the Big Ten championship game with that schedule. They should be.
James Franklin, Lincoln Riley, Mike Norvell, Brian Kelly, and then I put at number 5, Kellen DeBoer. Now, there's a reason I put Brian Kelly and Kellen DeBoer in my top 5, and it's a name you mentioned a little bit ago. This individual could just be using these leaked reports as leverage to get a higher deal done with ESPN, and that's Mr. Nick Saban, or Nick Saban truly is interested in getting back into coaching. But if you're LSU and you're dealing with Kelly, who you took a huge swing on, and that was a good swing. I have no problem with this. That was a good get for LSU. I don't mind it. I have no problem with them going to Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly has responsibility to deliver, and he hasn't done it. So if they fall short again, probably patient and have one more year with Brian Kelly. But if Nick Saban's name's being floated out there, see ya, Brian Kelly, right? And I think DeBoer's in the same boat. I think Alabama deep down secretly, if they truly know that Nick Saban wants to return to coach, I think this is like a major league situation. I think it's where you have literally your university rooting against you, Kellen DeBoer. We don't need you to win just enough games to return next year. We need you to fall flat on your face to justify moving on from you to get over back to Nick Saban. I think the Nick Saban effect, depending on how real those rumors and reports are, I think that plays a huge role on the trigger finger for a lot of these athletic directors. USC, Lincoln Riley is probably not on the hot seat, but Nick Saban's available. Lincoln Riley's on the hot seat. Same thing, I think, with, of course, Brian Kelly at LSU, Kellen DeBoer at Alabama, hell, even Hugh Freeze over at Auburn. On many of those schools, that trigger finger is going to be nice and hot, just waiting to pull it if Nick Saban truly is serious about returning to coaching.
Absolutely, 100%. So the thing about it from my perspective is with Coach Saban is, obviously, he's 73 years old, will be 74 on Halloween. That does kind of scare me, an older guy getting back into the new world of college football. I really think Coach Saban is waiting for things to actually get regulated before he comes back, so there's some type of order. But if he comes back and there is no order, he is not going to one of the poorer states in the union, in the state of Alabama or Mississippi or Louisiana. If he's going to come back, he's going to come back to a place that has the resources, and they have the resources out there in California. So if Nick Saban calls somebody at University of Southern California and say, yeah, I want to be the coach there, Lincoln Riley is going to be packing his own bags because they got the money to do it. They got the money out there. So he's not going to go back to a situation where like, oh man, he's going to have to be back on the booster circuit and, scrounging for dollars and stuff like that. Hey man, you're dealing with Texas. You're dealing with Texas A&M. As much as people want to say like, oh, it's Texas A&M. You look at some of the guys that they're getting, not only out the transfer portal, but also from the high school ranks because, hey, it's legal now. Fine. Here's my oil money. Hey man, guess what they don't have in Alabama? Oil tankers. So they got those in California. They got them in Texas. So he's gonna go somewhere that, hey man, is gonna be flush with cash, so you can get the talent. And Nick Saban has always said is talent over coaching.
Ron Howard says, the U. Could the U be in on all saves?
I think Nick Saban is done with the city of Miami, considering what happened with the Dolphins.
They didn't treat him well last time. But he finished. That's crazy. He was a 500 coach that year.
Yeah.
People talk about it like it was Urban Meyer's running Jacksonville. It was not. That it was not. More likely, as we wrap this up, what's more likely? Herbs.
Herbs
go out. But speaking of herbs, what's more likely? Urban Meyer returning to coaching in college football? Well, definitely only college football. I think the NFL is checked out on herbs. Nick Saban or Urban Meyer, which coach is more likely to return
Nick Saban
to coach? You got to let me finish the
I'm
question.
sorry.
How am I supposed to clip this?
I'm sorry.
Let's pretend.
I'm rusty.
What's more likely, Nick Saban or Urban Meyer to return to coaching?
Can I answer now?
Go.
Nick Saban. I think Nick Saban still wants to do it. I don't think Urban Meyer wants to do it. I think Urban Meyer is really enjoying, the podcast life, the hosting, and just enjoying life, doing what he wants to do and getting out of the racket. But when I look at Coach Saban, I still see that fire that he wants to be, in the mix and the ruckus of the whole world of college football. So I would definitely say Nick Saban before Urban Meyer, because Urban Meyer has been in, the media world for the last 3-4 years already, and there have been no takers.
So
there have been no takers. There have been minimal rumors. The only rumor that came up was after Ohio State lost to Michigan, and then we went on to win a natty. Did I tell you Ohio State won the national championship?
Yep.
Okay.
There was if Nick Saban comes back, do you think Herbs gets the old itch after seeing Nick Saban come back? Again, he was out for a while Saban was still coaching, but who knows?
Yeah, he can get the itch all he wants.
God, that'd be so huge for college football if that happened.
More huge than the second biggest sport in our country. You're not going to overtake the NFL. You've already overtaken baseball and basketball. You can only get so big. But I mean, no, I think Herb's done, man. Not only do I think the sport is done with Urban, I think Urban is done with the actual coaching of the sport.
All right. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash will be live tomorrow. Frickers in Vandalia. Reds Dodgers tickets we have that will be given away. The Ella De La Cruz Slider bobbleheads, Tyler Stevenson City Connect bobbleheads. We'll have that tomorrow. Frickers in Vandalia. Reds kick off the back half, second half of the season post All-Star break. Speaking of those Reds, the MVP of the All-Star game told Philadelphia media that he wants to be a Red. We'll talk about that. What's the likelihood of that happening? Middletown Zone. We'll be right back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, 1410 ESPN Radio. All right, and we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. 4:14 here in the Miami Valley. Hope everybody's had a great Thursday. Kev Nash and I will be live tomorrow at Frickers in Vandalia. We look forward to seeing you guys out there, of course. Reds-Dodgers tickets will be given away along with Ellie De La Cruz bobbleheads, Tyler Stevenson bobbleheads. We'll have all that with us tomorrow. Frickers in Vandalia. We'll have limited Frickers bucks on hand. We'll be able to cover an appetizer, at least give you a Frickers bucks to cover an appetizer, first come, first serve basis. So just keep that in mind for tomorrow. Okay. Reds will be in action tomorrow. And the Reds, look, I feel like the Reds have run its course as far as the way we talk about them and the expectations for them. At a certain point, the Reds just have to prove that. I feel like despite the fact that they're within 2.5 of the wild card, despite the fact that they are in the mix for the postseason, have they done anything to make you feel like this is different than in recent seasons? This team has been remotely competitive in recent seasons. You know, and that's why I get mad whenever I hear general managers and owners say, you know, our goal is to put a competitive ball club out on the field. The Reds have been competitive. The Reds have missed the playoffs by 2 games before. The Reds have been 10 games above 500, first place at the All-Star break in recent seasons. It's not that this team has not been competitive. This team's been very competitive. At a certain point, you got to go from being competitive to actually being, I don't know, a contender. I need you to be a contending team, not just a competitive team. And I don't know if what we've seen in the first half of the season has led me to believe that we're witnessing anything different than what we've seen from previous seasons. This team is competitive. Congratulations. If that's the only goal of Brad Meter and Nick Craw and the Castellinis is to put a competitive ball club on the field, then technically we have no right to be mad because they've been telling us what they've been aiming to do, and they've accomplished that. They're competitive. They're the only team in baseball that has not been swept at this point of the season. As we start the second half of the season tomorrow, the Reds are the only team in Major League Baseball to have not been swept at this point. But that's what makes this series with the Mets so interesting. 3 of the last 4 years, the Reds have been swept in the first series coming out of the All-Star break. 3 of the last 4 seasons. Last year, the Cincinnati Reds got swept by the Nationals coming out of the All-Star break. The season before that, 2023 season, the Reds got swept by the Brewers coming out of the All-Star break. Now, luckily in 2022, very competitive start to the back half. They took 2 or 3 from the Cardinals, but they were 20 games under 500 at that point. 2021, once again, swept by the Brewers coming out of the All-Star break. At a certain point, the Reds have to do a better job of setting the tone. Now, does sweeping a series, winning a series, getting swept in a series coming out of the All-Star break make or break your season? For most teams, I'd say no. But the Reds have a chance starting tomorrow night to kind of show to me, you, front office, teams that are looking to be sellers at the trade deadline. They have a message to deliver starting tomorrow night that this is not just going to be a competitive team down the stretch. They're going to be a contending team. They're competitive right now. Good for them. I want them to be legit contenders. I want them to make a move at the deadline that is going to make them legit contenders. The Cincinnati Reds, of course, with the Mets series right out of the break, have a chance to prove that. You got the Rays coming up around the corner. The Dodgers will be their first home series that they have. That'll start next week, or a week from Monday, I should say. The Reds have work to do, and they have 3 or 4 series to really put their best foot forward to prove to the sellers around Major League Baseball, to prove to their front office, to prove to the fans that they're not just competitive, that they're actually good as far as that's concerned. So we'll see what ends up happening with the Reds coming out of the break. But the bottom line is they've been swept in 3 of the last 4 years, 3 of the last 4 series coming out of the All-Star break. And they have their work cut out for them because they're in New York. They're going up against the team that's sitting atop the wild card standings right now in the National League. And I got to see them show some signs of life. I guess that's always the frustrating thing about David Bell in recent years. And I've always attributed it really to his personality. And this is where I think some of the differences of Terry Francona can come into play. And I know I've said something similar to this in recent weeks, but like, what about David Bell? Did he ever make you feel like you would run through a brick wall for him? I wanted to run into a brick wall because of David Bell, but not run through it. I just wanted to run my head into it because he would drive me so dang crazy. David Bell never made me want to run through a brick wall. He just made me want to run into one. Terry Francona is wired different. Terry Francona kind of makes me want to run through a brick wall for him. And I kind of feel like the Reds feed off that urgency and that intensity. I do believe that's why the Reds have not been swept at this point of the season, because there are multiple stretches throughout this season where the Reds could have just caved, tucked their head, and just kind of given up. I've given up multiple times throughout this season. You have. A lot of fans have. And just when we start to give up, they come roaring back. And I think a lot of that is because of the drive and the fight that Terry Francona, pushes into this team. I think we're going to see a much different Reds team coming out of the All-Star break starting tomorrow night in Game 1 against the Mets with Nick Lodolo on the mound. I just think that there's something about Terry Francona that kind of captures this team's attention more. Something that was lacking with David Bell. David Bell knows so much about baseball. David Bell, I will never pretend to know more about baseball than David Bell. But at the same time, I do believe when you are a leader, when you are a coach, when you're a manager, when you're a boss, you have to have some kind of personality that's going to get people to respond. There was nothing about David Bell that got anybody to respond. Terry Francona has that it factor, and I expect a series win against the Mets to set the tone coming out of the All-Star break. Again, July 31st, Major League Baseball trade deadline. That's 2 weeks from tonight, and that's going to be something to follow. Again, 6 o'clock, July 31st. It's a Thursday. That's how long the Reds have to kind of prove to the front office. And let's be real. The Reds front office could have technically already decided in their heads, we're not buying at the deadline. We're going to move on from some pieces if we have to, but we're not going to add. The front office could have already decided that. Even if they've already decided that, the Reds still have the power to come out of the break and with fight, with aggression, and show the front office, hey, change your mind. I'm fascinated to see what's going to happen nonetheless. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by our friends over at Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. 937-518-1410. Your thoughts on the Reds. Do you think that Terry Francona is going to have this team ready to go? Are they going to show fight in this series against the Mets? They've been swept 3 of the last 4 series coming out of the All-Star break. Does that trend continue against the Mets, or do we see a little fight from this team? That tone setter, if you will, ahead of this Reds-Mets series. That's what I'm fascinated and curious about as kind of we get things rolling. Another Reds story that I found very interesting as far as I'm concerned. Like when you really think about the Reds and their activity at the deadline or their activity in free agency, there's not a lot of history there in recent years to make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Sometimes the Castellinis and the general manager gets a hair up their behind and they start making some aggressive moves. You know, when the Reds traded for Sonny Gray from the New York Yankees, when they traded for Trevor Bauer from at the time the Cleveland Indians, when they signed Mike Moustakas and Nick Castellanos and Shogo Akiyama, I know did not work out, but they made a move on him. Like they were aggressive there. This is why I'm not totally completely counting out the front office to being aggressive. I think that the problem with the Reds front office is they're very cautious and they are selectively aggressive. I just want to know the last time that they were aggressive, it bit them in the ass. They got nothing out of it. That's why it's so stressful when teams like the Reds do decide to invest into the roster. It's very important that it works out, because if it doesn't, that gives that ownership and front office group all the ammunition in the world to say, yeah, see, it's the same results. We paid for good players, or what we thought were good players. We got nothing. We don't pay for players. We're still semi-competitive and we still get nothing, but hey, at least that's more money in our pockets. It is very important that the next time the Reds get that hair up there behind front office and ownership wise, and they decide to be selectively aggressive, that they select the right players and that the results, that the return on investment, the ROI is there, that it can be shown and displayed. I think that's very important. Well, I don't know what the Reds' direction is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be, if they, whatever players they decide to add or maybe add at the deadline, what is it going to be, a bat? Is it going to be more depth in the bullpen? Is it going to be a sexy name? Just names, different names? Who knows? But when the Reds do get to free agency this upcoming offseason, I think that we're going to learn a lot about this front. I think that we are anxious as Reds fans because we see the light at the end of the we see not light at the end of the tunnel, but we could see the end of the tunnel, and not in a good way, I guess. This Elly De La Cruz train that we're all thoroughly enjoying, we're not enjoying it to its core because we just know he's not going to be here long term. And I've said this before, that if the Cincinnati Reds, this is a great trade-off, right? If the Cincinnati Reds trade Elly De La Cruz in a few years, I could forgive you if you go all in for the next couple of years that he is here, putting a contender around him. Put a contender around him, bid him farewell, trade off the big pieces you acquire over the next couple of years to accrue prospects, and if you have to start over again, fine. But show to us that when the timing is right, that when the pieces are right, that you'll make the moves necessary to go out and try to win, even in small windows. I hate it, but my opinion is not what I want, but it's based on what I want based on the circumstances, if that makes sense. What I want is the Reds to sign Elly De La Cruz and to sign everybody and just to give money to any good player out there like the Dodgers. That's what I really want, but I know that's not realistic. So what I realistically want is the Reds to say, okay, Elly De La Cruz, we're not going to be able to give you a $700 million contract like what Juan Soto just got. I don't even think they can afford to give him a $600 million contract over a 10, 15-year period. So with that being said, knowing the restrictions and limitations and the cheapness of this front office, go all in. Repeat what you did in 2019. You don't have to go get the biggest of stars, but go get some stars. Mike Moustakas failed. I get that. I still don't mind the move. I hate that it didn't work. I love the fact that the Reds looked at Mike Moustakas, one of the top free agents that summer, and said, we're going to go get him. Or winter, whatever. I love that. Nick Castellanos was a great addition. A lot of teams were lining up to get him, and the Reds were aggressive, and they got him. I appreciated that. He wasn't the top free agent. You don't need, that's the thing in baseball. You don't have to have the best of the best. You just need solid contending players. As long as the intent is there, that's all I'm asking of the Cincinnati Reds. If we know you're going to move on from Elly De La Cruz, at least don't waste another offseason or trade deadline not trying to acquire talent that's going to help you win in this window that he's here. We all know Terry Francona is not a long-term manager, right? You have Terry Francona for a very brief stint. You have Elly De La Cruz for a few more years as well. Probably have Hunter Green for just a few more years. Take advantage of this window and go all in. That's all I'm asking. So one name that the Reds could potentially look at this upcoming offseason is a guy that is a multi-time All-Star, and now a All-Star MVP. Major League Baseball's All-Star MVP, Kyle Schwarber. Well, he's very he's a big Reds fan, if you will. I don't know what question was asked to him. This came out from the Philadelphia Inquirer. I don't know what question was asked to him to set this up, but this is a quote from Kyle Schwarber regarding the Cincinnati Reds. Kyle Schwarber, by the way, who has 30 home runs as we currently sit here at the halfway point of the season. That's 30 home runs. A guy that's knocking the ball out of pretty much every ballpark. Imagine what he could do with the heavy sample size of games at Great American Ballpark, by the way. Kyle Schwarber says this: being a baseball fan and growing up and watching Cincinnati baseball for your whole youth, that's how you fall in love with baseball. I think it would draw your attention, right? Being able to play for your childhood team is something that I think it would be awesome. Kyle Schwarber, he's 30? He's in his 30s, 32 years old. He's going to be a free agent after this season. He's born in Middletown, right? Attended Middletown High School. Not just a great baseball player, by the way. I think he second team All-Ohio honors as a linebacker. His senior year in football. Like, there's local ties, and the Reds front office loves local ties. They're just, you know what I mean? Like, they love those feel-good stories because they know that there's not going to be a lot of stories in the press about feel-good wins, right? But at least there's some feel-good stories about guys coming home. But no, you think of the Reds history. There's a lot of local, you think Pete Rose and others. There's just a lot of that history where some of the organization's best players were local guys. There was local tie-ins, right? And I think that stuff matters. They always have that, the connection there. I think Schwarber makes a ton of sense. He's making $19 million a year right now. Reds, you were willing to give Joey Votto $25 a year. Now, I don't put Schwarber on Joey Votto's level, I guess, as far as impact. But the impact that Schwarber could have on this team, I say it's pretty damn big. $20 to $25 million a year for Kyle Schwarber. He loves the Reds. He wants to play for the Reds. Now, this could be him using the press to his advantage, trying to put pressure on Philadelphia. Maybe he wants to remain a Philly, and he's talking about how hot the Reds are so that maybe his team will, I don't know. Give him that extension, give him a little bit of leverage. I don't know. But Schwarber already has 30 home runs, just won the World Series MVP. Can you imagine what his home run numbers would be at Great American Ballpark? Can you imagine what his home run numbers would be because he gets to play his home games at Great American Ballpark? I think that's a name right there that I would be very high on if the Reds were aggressive to go after him. Now, you could bring up the fact that he's 32 years old. That's great. That's the beauty part about going all in over the next 3 years with Elly De La Cruz. Who cares? Go get the best mid-30-year-old dudes out there. It doesn't matter. You're not building a long-term team right now. You're just not. You get a Kyle Schwarber. You go get some older veteran players. This team needs older veteran players. I'm tired of hearing about, well, he's just a couple years into the league. They need some Major League Baseball players. I would love if the Cincinnati Reds found a way to get a Kyle Schwarber. And I think that him saying this and putting this out there, I don't think I would have said this if this quote didn't exist, but it really kind of gets you thinking a little bit. Schwarber's basically saying he wants to be here. Players do like playing in Cincinnati. If you remember, Nick Castellanos was pissed at the Reds front office. I was a huge Nick Castellanos fan because he put the Reds front office on blast. You know, the fact that Castellanos and his agent were reaching out to the Reds to let them know he wants an extension. He wants to stay in Cincinnati. He was mad that the Reds moved on from him. He was mad that the Reds didn't try to keep him. And he said that the Reds fans deserve better. I was like, I thought that Nick Castellanos showed more leadership in defending the fans as a Philly than anyone on the current Reds roster during that stretch did at the time, and that included everyone's lover boy, Joey Votto. Everyone loves Joey Votto. Joey Votto never spoke out on behalf of the fans. He never defended the fans. That's why I was a huge Nick Castellanos fan, not just because how he played, but because of the way he went out and was defending Reds fans' honor as far as that's concerned. But bottom line is, you're not going to be able to extend Elly De La Cruz. I can forgive you, Cincinnati Reds, if you can't extend him, if you go all in the next couple of years. 20-25 mil a year for Kyle Schwarber. That shows me you're serious. Imagine a lineup with Elly De La Cruz and Kyle Schwarber, the impact that would have right there. You got to have other pieces, but we've talked about the impact of this rotation. And by the way, when you sign a free agent, everyone gets all prospect heavy. Oh, you can't get rid of that prospect. You can't get rid of him. You can't get rid of Chase Petty. Can't get rid of Sal Stewart. You can't get rid of this guy, this guy, this guy. What are we doing? If that's how you want to be, fine. And the Reds don't want to give up on prospects, fine. I think you do need to continue to develop these prospects so that when you do blow it up after Elly leaves, you have something there waiting. Sign free agents. You don't got to give up prospects. You don't got to give up prospects. All right, good stuff. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Kyle Schwarber said it would be pretty dang cool. It'd be awesome, his words, to play for your childhood team, the Cincinnati Reds. Would you love Kyle Schwarber in Cincinnati in 2026? Let me know. 937-518-1410. The Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. We'll be right back. Well. How about that? It's what you guys have been waiting for. Look, the team's been trying to get a deal done, or maybe not, with this pass rusher for a while. Everyone's been waiting for this pass rusher. I mean, one of the best pass rushers in the AFC North. Everyone's been waiting for this pass rusher to get a deal done. The team was a little reluctant, a little hesitant. I didn't think the team was going to get it done. Thought they were going to trade him. But the team got it done. The Cincinnati Bengals finally get a deal done with Trey Hendrickson. No, I'm just joking. No, not the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't know how to be a real team. You know, when Myles Garrett wanted out of Cleveland took care of Myles Garrett. You look at Trey Hendrickson. He wants out of Cincinnati. They won't take care of their star pass rusher. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their star pass rusher wants out of Pittsburgh. They took care of their star pass rusher. How about this? This just came out literally about 20 minutes ago. ESPN sources, ESPN's Adam Schefter. Steelers star TJ Watt has become the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history for the second time in his illustrious career, reaching agreement today on a 3-year, $123 million extension that includes $108 million fully guaranteed at signing. $41 million per year average is the highest of any non-quarterback in NFL history. The deal has been in the works between CAA Sports and the Steelers front office for months. As far as that goes. So the Steelers take care of that, and now they just get to focus on preparing for the season. Camps are just around the corner. And look, the AFC North is fascinating for a lot of reasons, but it is interesting that the top two pass rushers in the NFL, and Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, reside in the AFC North. And of course, there's also the NFL sack leader in Trey Hendrickson. Once again, how many times do like I said, I'm going to respect the Bengals way more if they stand their ground and do not cave to Trey Hendrickson. If they cave and pay him, they will look so ridiculously stupid just because of the fact that, once again, they wait for everybody else to get their deals done and then end up paying way more. They're going to end up, if they do get a deal done with Trey Hendrickson, it's going to be way more because they waited and Cleveland paid $40 million to what? To Myles Garrett. If they get a deal done with Trey Hendrickson, it's going to be way more than what it was going to be because they waited, and now the Steelers get a deal done with, of course, none other than TJ Watt. And let's be clear. Let's go all the way back to the beginning of the offseason. This technically started with the Raiders. Had they given him his deal last year, they'd be sitting at that 20 to 25 mil a year range, or that 25 mil a year range, which would be a steal to have the NFL sack leader at 25 mil a year. But instead they waited, and then all of a sudden Max Crosby gets 35 mil. Their eyes were huge when it was 35 mil a year for Max Crosby. And then Myles Garrett gets 40. Now TJ Watt gets 41. Now, I don't think Trey Hendrickson is on their level. A lot of you do. And he views himself as that, and I'm okay with that. I don't think it's the end of the world that he thinks that, but if that's what he's pushing for, there will be teams out there that'll give it to him. You know, if the Washington Commanders have access to him, they'll pay Trey Hendrickson that money. They have a quarterback on a rookie deal. They have money to spend. There will be teams that are willing to pay Trey Hendrickson his worth, and is what it is at this point. But the Cincinnati Bengals just continuously, and by the way, I'm ranting, and the Bengals haven't done anything wrong yet. The Bengals they will look so foolish if they cave and pay him. Because if you were willing to pay Trey Hendrickson all along, you should have paid him last offseason. If this whole thing was just about a staring contest to see who was going to blink first, your pride gets in the way, Bengals front office, because you want to be known as the staring champion, all while having to pay way more for position. You paid way more for T than you needed to. You paid way more for Jamar Chase than you needed to. They keep having to spend way more than they need to because they sit there and they play these stupid, stubborn waiting games and look absolutely moronic doing it. I'm yelling as if the Bengals are going to pay Trey Hendrickson. I will tell you what, I don't praise the Bengals often. If they stand their ground and decide that they don't want to pay him, or maybe I think they've already decided, I will respect the Bengals more if they decide not to do it. And they probably already have. I will respect it more. I will not respect the Bengals' decision to pay him, not because I'm anti-Trey Hendrickson, but it's because it's just another stupid look at the Bengals. Like they tried to, everyone's like, the Bengals, they're different now. They're doing things they've never done before. They paid Jamar Chase. They had to. You weren't going to let a generational wide receiver just go for nothing. And on top of that, you paid him, and you look so stupid doing it, you had to pay way more than you actually had to. You could have got him at 35, and you got him at 40. Score. 4-year contract, that's $20 million over that span that you wasted. T. Higgins, you could have got that 20 to 25 range, but you waited 2 years. Now you had to get him at 30. That's another one, though. 2 or 3 years, that stuff adds up. That $5-10 million you didn't have to spend now adds up over a couple-year contract. Now the Bengals have spent $60 to $70 million a year more than what they absolutely had to. And then they sit there and wonder, why don't we have anyone to help on defense? Why can't we block for Joe Burrow? How come we're getting scrap running back guys and wondering why we're one of the worst running teams in football? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like I said, this good for the Steelers. You know, whatever. TJ Watt, like I said, TJ Watt's one of those that he's a high impact guy. There's been literally years where the Steelers have had no quarterback production. They above 500, they make the playoffs, and it's all because of him. He single-handedly wins games in closeout situations, high leverage moments, single-handedly, wins games for the Steelers. I don't view Hendrickson that way. I know Kevin and I discussed this earlier. I disagree with them. I watch the Bengals every week. I've never once felt, man, Hendrickson is single-handedly winning them this football game. That's never been the case. 17.5 sacks. I think 3 or 4 of those came in one game. The rest were sprinkled out over the so I don't know. I'm not a big Hendrickson guy. I'd be happy if he was on the Browns. I still just don't look at him as a Myles Garrett type player, but he views himself that way. And I have no problem with that. He can want it, and he could probably get it. He could probably get like a $35 to $40 million deal somewhere. I just don't think it's going to be in Cincinnati. And if Cincinnati caves and pays him heavy dollars, they're going to look foolish. They're going to look absolutely foolish when it's all said and done. All right, good stuff. I'm Justin Kinner. Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. We'll step away for a few moments. When we come back, there's one more Bengals storyline. Everyone's so focused on what's going on right now with Shamar Stewart, the Bengals their first-round draft pick, 17th pick overall. He's the last remaining first-round draft pick he's yet to sign his rookie contract. Everyone's been so locked in on the different factors and variables of what's going on there that they've yet to realize that probably a bigger problem is that their second-round draft pick has yet to sign his contract as well. The Bengals' first and second-round picks have yet to sign their contracts, and while everyone's so focused on Shamar Stewart, they kind of forgot about their potential star linebacker. We'll get to all that when we come back. Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers, 1410 ESPN Radio. right, and we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by our friends over at Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Appreciate all of the sponsors of the show. We appreciate our friends over at Titan Graphics. Make sure you contact Titan Graphics for all of your screen printing needs. Of course, Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. And I want to give a shout out to Dr. Justin in Dayton Weight Loss Secret. I just started the Dayton Weight Loss Secret weight loss program July 1st. My weight going into that sitting about 210, and my weight this morning was sitting at about like 193.8 or something like that, about 194. The weight has just been falling off. And again, this is one of those programs. You're not injecting yourself with anything. I was big time against that. I feel like if I'm going to lose weight, and by the way, I'm not judging anyone that does any of that. I'm not at all. I just felt like if I'm going to lose weight, I feel like there's more fulfillment in it if I just lose it by eating better and doing, following that type of regimen or whatever. I went the route with Dr. Justin and Dayton Weight Loss Secret, and it's not skeptical at first, but again, I just want to make sure you're not putting anything in your body or anything like that. No injections, none of those pre-packaged meals that are delivered to your door where they look way better on the package than what they do when you officially warm them up. No endless workouts, none of that. It's just an entire program designed to your lifestyle, to your obviously your work habits and everything else. It changes your eating habits. It resets your metabolism. The weight loss has been great. That's been my favorite part. Obviously, that's been one of my favorite parts. But the best part, my energy throughout the day, there's just so many things that's coming with this that I really am enjoying. And I'm only a couple weeks into this, but the weight's been falling off fast. And, the Dayton Weight Loss Secret program successfully has helped thousands of people lose up to 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. And all you have to do right now is schedule your free consultation in person or virtually by calling Dayton Weight Loss Secret, or you could do it online at DaytonWeightLossSecret.com. So make sure you go and you check that out. And just give it a look for yourself. It's a free consultation. So call for that free consultation today, 937-999-1480. One more time, that's 937-999-1480. Dr. Justin and his staff of awesome people over there will get you taken care of. You'll go and you'll check it out. And it's pretty neat. The other thing too, right now, it's a July special only. If you sign up for a weight loss program in the month of July, you will get 2 free red light sessions and a body composition analysis. So you get 2 free red light sessions and a body composition analysis if you sign up for a weight loss program here in the month of July. But I'm going to be keeping you updated on my weight loss journey throughout this, but it's been pretty cool. I've seen the results like that. Again, July 1st, 210, sitting here right now on what is it, the 17th, and I'm at 193, 194 in that range. That's a lot of weight quickly coming off, and it's coming off daily. And I know they can help you as well. So no injections, one more time. There's no injections, no needles, no prepackaged meals. You're not going to starve yourself. They find the foods that fit your lifestyle, and they help you through the entire process. Last thing on this, I'm getting wordy with it. I get that, but I'm excited about it. For me, it's one of those okay, hey, I'm going to work out every day this week after work. Then you get done with work, you're tired. I just go home. I'm going to eat healthy every day this week. I'm off work, tired. I don't feel like going home to make something. So F it. I'm just going to go through the drive-thru somewhere, right? I did that so many times. With this, the cool part is you meet with your coach weekly. They're following the results on the app, and they're checking in with you. You track your food and everything. And it's there's that accountability thing. I need that. Some of you guys are very self-motivated. I respect that. I know I need someone kind of, giving me direction the whole way. I need that. And for those of you who are similar to me, you're going to benefit from that as well. That's where I see the value in this program, the whole step of the way. There's that accountability side, more energy, obviously the weight loss. And the best part is it's not just losing the weight. They help you with keeping it off as well. So there you go. Yes, Ron, tomorrow, he said tomorrow I could have a liquid diet. Yes, there's, I've been way better at what I've been eating throughout every step of the way. But anyways, I'll keep you guys updated on how that's going, but please give Dayton Weight Loss Secret a call. It's a free consultation. You might as well go check it out and hear what it's all about. Every person's body and the way they react to these things is different. So you want to go and meet with Dr. Justin and his staff, and they'll take good care of you. I'm not the only one in town. There's some other, bigger name media people than me that have taken part of this, that have lost 30 plus pounds. And I'll let those individuals share their own story. But yeah, it's a very successful program, and I hope you guys will go and check it out. All right, last thing here as we wrap it up this hour. Rookies report to camp for your Cincinnati Bengals coming up this Saturday. That's wild. Next week, it's preseason's coming up. July 31st is the trade deadline for Major League Baseball. That's in 2 weeks from today. But 2 weeks from today is also, I believe, the first preseason game. And that's the Hall of Fame game, of course. So that's pretty cool. We're getting closer and closer to that. But the fact that rookies are reporting to camp this coming up Saturday is a big deal. The Bengals, who have put a lot of money into Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, and the one piece on defense that wants money, they're not giving him money, and Trey Hendrickson, they have a lot of money invested into their offensive line. All right, we talked last year about how they're top 5 in spending on offense, bottom 5 spending on defense, and you get what you pay for. Best offense, one of the best offenses in the NFL, one of the worst defenses in the NFL. You get what you pay for, follow the money, the results speak for themselves, right? Well, because of the money that the Bengals have spent all on the offensive side of the ball, when they draft, they have to draft well on the defensive side of the ball, and they have to hit on these guys. The margin for error is so slim. The draft, they have to hit on the draft because they're not aggressive in free agency, and they're not going to make trades at the trade deadline. Like, they are who they are based on who they draft and who they develop. And with that being said, rookies report to camp this coming up week. Now, it's not a surprise that Shamar Stewart will most likely probably not be showing up to this, right? He skipped the final day of OTAs. There will be no Shamar Stewart at camp this weekend as rookies report to camp. That's pretty much a guarantee. That's been the number one talking point all offseason for the Bengals outside of Trey Hendrickson, of course, especially once T and Jamar got buttoned up and taken care of. But I didn't realize, I completely forgot, that's not the only rookie that hasn't signed a contract yet. And the Shamar Stewart thing might not even be the biggest concern that the Bengals have. Like, we know all about the defensive end and Shamar Stewart and his story. But this article right here from SI talks about, despite all the angst and side taking and comments in the comment sections and overstressed talk show phone lines, Stewart's situation is only the second biggest contract issue that the Bengals have among this year's rookie class. I did not realize this, to be honest with you. Second round linebacker Demetrius Knight Jr. also remains unsigned, and that is a much bigger deal for multiple reasons. Now, we figured when the Bengals were going the linebacker route in the draft, I mean, we all knew that Jermaine Pratt, that they were moving on from him, but they held on to him a lot longer than what I think many of us anticipated them to. Jermaine Pratt's not elite by any means. I mean, he'll always, have a special spot in Bengals history, being a part of that defense that led the Bengals to a Super Bowl appearance a few years ago. But we knew the Bengals were moving on from him. But man, they move on from Jermaine Pratt. You didn't add linebackers in the off season, or like starting ones. You added some a contributing linebacker that contributed to the Eagles that won a Super Bowl last year, but he wasn't their main guy. So you're going to give him a bigger role. You have no clue what you're getting with that. You drafted a rookie to obviously contribute as well, and he's not even signed yet. And rookies report to camp this coming up weekend. And as much as we're feeling the vibes of, man, this defensive end situation with Shamar Stewart may not get resolved anytime soon, this sounds like this Demetrius Knight Jr. deal could be a long time coming as well, because second-round linebacker Demetrius Knight Jr. also remains unsigned. That's a much bigger problem than Shamar Stewart for multiple reasons. I read that line. I got curious. I'll continue. Stewart is operating as a lone wolf, right? Like, he's the only first-round unsigned pick right now, making his situation and his alone. Knight's part of what's being called right now a de facto class action standoff among second-round picks to see how far down the line the guaranteed money is going to flow. Now, again, Bengals in a standoff with their first-round pick, number 17 overall pick in Shamar Stewart, and now Demetrius Knight Jr., also in a standoff with the Bengals front office, because he wants to sign his contract, but he wants fully guaranteed money. The first two picks in the second round, Browns linebacker Carson Schweizinger and Texans wide receiver Jaden Higgins, are the first two second-rounders in NFL history to sign fully guaranteed rookie deals. So Knight was the 17th pick in the second round. Will he wait out the process and see where the guaranteed money stops and sliding scale begins, with each subsequent pick receiving a smaller percentage of guaranteed money? It's smart. Like Demetrius Knight, he should not sign right now. Now, the Bengals could just bite the bullet and say, okay, fine, here's fully guaranteed money, but we all know that's not how they operate. Demetrius Knight Jr. would be also kind of silly to sign a contract without knowing where that water is going to stop, if you will, as far as the guaranteed money that's coming down the line. He may not get a fully guaranteed contract, but if he signs now, he's going to leave money on the table as far as again, this is all slotted money. He's not going to leave money on the table, but he's going to leave guaranteed money on the table. Well, again, I find that situation fascinating. The Bengals report to camp rookies this weekend. I just talked about how significant it is that the Bengals have spent almost every dollar of theirs on the offensive side of the ball, overstressing the defensive side of the ball and putting a lot of hope into Al Golden to come over and develop this young defensive group, which means you have to draft well and develop well. This has been one hellacious start to that process because your first 2 picks aren't even signed, and camp is this weekend. The draft was in April. All of May, all of June, all of July, no deal done and no end in sight as far as these holdouts are possibly concerned. That is going to be the big storyline for the Bengals as we head into camp. And I guess it's refreshing. It's not the health of Joe Burrow. It's not the health of T. Higgins. It's not the contract of Jamar Chase. I guess this is okay compared to previous stressors from previous camps. But even though there's no stressors on the offensive side of the ball, can the Bengals replicate offensively what they did last year? Even if we saw last year that they were the most explosive passing offense in the league, they missed the playoffs. So this idea that they'll be fine, they weren't fine last year. They missed the playoffs with Joe Burrow throwing for 4,900 yards and 45-plus touchdowns and completing 70% of his passes, would have won an MVP. You beat the Patriots week 1, Joe Burrow's probably your MVP over Josh Allen. You win week 1 against the Patriots, you're in the playoffs. You win one of those 2 games, those shootouts with the Ravens, you're an 11-win team, and your season's viewed at completely different. In fact, Joe Burrow, who's a legend in Cincinnati already, no doubt, you make the playoffs with that atrocious of a defense, you're definitely a legend. But he's missed the playoffs the last 2 years. Injuries 2 years ago, but the defense wasn't great then. Even worse last year. And they lost some guys from that putrid defense last year, and they didn't really add anyone of substance at all. The 2 guys that they put a lot of stock into, Shamar Stewart, there would be, even with Demetrius Knight Jr. and Shamar Stewart, had they signed deals and were ready to rock this coming, there would still be concerns about the defense, even with those 2. But now those 2 may not even be in the equation for the first couple weeks of camp. Shamar Stewart, all this talk of him returning to college, entering the draft again next year, holding out. I don't know. Interesting stuff. Once again, Kev Nash and I will be live at Frickers in Vandalia tomorrow, 3 o'clock. We'll be giving away tickets for you Reds fans to go see the Reds and Dodgers here in a few weeks at Great American Ballpark. What else we got? Oh, yeah, the Cincinnati Reds sent us some more bobbleheads. So we have the Tyler Stevenson City Connect bobblehead. We have the Ellie De La Cruz slider bobblehead. We have all of that. We're going to be bringing it with us. Really excited. We love when we get to take the show out on the road, and we're excited to see all of you tomorrow. Frickers, Vandalia. This has been the Justin Kinner Show, presented by our friends over at Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits.